there are a lot of misconceptions about what to do in both task 1 and task 2, and you work and you clear them up for a group of people, or at least you try to, and some of them get it, and things move on, and they're like, people come in and they know certain things, and they think they know certain things, and well, then they move on, and then another group comes in, and you have to do the same thing all over again. And I am not going to go do a whole video here tonight about about what to do in task 1. I've done that many times. You can see it on my YouTube page, which is non-commercialized. I don't make any money off of it. But let's take a look. I don't mean to embarrass the person who's put this in. They didn't expect their essay to become an example, but it serves. And so maybe by watching this, if you're writing a task 1 academic, you can see some of the things that you're doing that could be improved. Okay, so I said I wouldn't do this, but what do we need to do to score well in the task 1 IELTS writing paper? Well, if you look in the instructions of every task 1, it always has the same instructions. And in those instructions, there are 4 verbs. In the band descriptors, it talks about, do you satisfy the requirements of the task? That's predominant in the task achievement category. Do you satisfy the requirements? And these 4 verbs are the requirements. They are summarize. Summarize. What does that mean? It means make it shorter. Take the main information, the most important, relevant information, and make it shorter. Select the most important information. Select, it says. And if you choose to do everything, you're not really selecting anything. Report, not everything. And make relevant comparisons. Make comparisons when relevant. What does it mean by relevant? Well, relevant means what we're talking about right now. And in task 1, you need to be talking about the most important information. So, if you're making comparisons about things that are not the most important information, you're not making a relevant comparison. So, what do we got here? I can't read my screen. Oh, the question here was delivered like this. Yeah, do that. The table below gives information about changes in modes of travel in England between 1985 and 2000. Summarize, select, report, main features, not every feature, and make comparisons. Don't get angry. Let's take a closer look. Now, here's the first thing. Take some time and look at what sounds good. So it does look like, I don't know if the writer, someone's thought about this. What jumps out? Well, there's what we call an 800-pound gorilla in the room. And that's car, right? And these two totals. All right, so obviously, only an idiot would not realize that the car is the predominant form of transport. But the other thing that I would notice is that the amount has increased as well. So here we got 4,740. Here we got 6,475. That's an increase of about 1,600. Here we have 3,200, 4,800. That's an increase of 47 to. So it's an increase of 18 down here, an increase of 17 here. G. How can we account for the increase in the amount of miles people traveled? It's all on the car. Okay? The car is the leading form of transport, but not just by a little bit. The significant feature is by how much, overwhelmingly, and travel went up. Yeah, okay, the total went up by about 1,800 miles. 1,700 of that was by car. So now let's get down to the actual nuts and bolts here. The table illustrates how an individual of England, just one of them, Just one of them. One individual. No, that's not what it shows. Replaced. Doesn't show that either. Replaced. Most of them drove a car in 85, and most of them continue to drive a car in 2000. They didn't replace anything. His. Oh, okay. This might have been true when you were learning English 20 years ago, but nowadays we do not use his or her to refer to people of an undetermined gender. If we don't know if it's his or hers, we say their. T-H-E-I-R. There. In the 15 years of duration. No, doesn't show that either. It just shows 2 points, the beginning and the end. It doesn't show the duration, which means the entire period. Here's our overview. Overall, it is clear that the car remained most popular for covering distance. What? For covering distance. Let's begin. Yes, you recognize the car. Like I said, only an idiot would not see that. When you use most, like any superlative, what comes before most? It's one of the rules of article. The most popular means, yeah, it's one, but it's still called means of transportation for covering distance. Moreover. Moreover is not the appropriate connector here. Moreover means that the following thing, the thing that follows moreover, the second part, what comes after, is more important than the first part. Hence the word more inside of it. Now, more than just, moreover, it must be so much more important that it makes the first point seem unimportant. I don't have a car. Moreover, I don't know how to drive. That kind of makes the first part not important. And since in Task 1 we are not dealing with importance and opinions, we're not judging anything, moreover has no place in Task 1 at all. The entire distance traveled by person per year has also been increased. Now here's another common mistake that I hope you have stick around has point will not make yourself. Okay. The use of the passive. Do a Google search for transitive and intransitive verbs. Increase is one of those verbs that can be both. Intransitive verbs include ones like happen or disappear or rise. Now, these verbs cannot take an object. You cannot happen something. You cannot disappear something or appear something or arrive something. Anyway, verbs that are intransitive, in other words, they don't take an object, cannot be in the passive, which is what you have here with been increased. It's good that you're trying to use the passive, yes, but do not use it with increase unless something is increasing it. The shop increased their prices. The shop, subject, increased verb. Their prices is the object. The temperature increased. Subject, temperature, increased, object, increased verb. There is no object there. Nothing increases the temperature. Hopefully you'll learn that about increase. Same thing with decrease or even raise. No. The intransitive form of raise is rise. What's next? So, in this overview, you have selected the appropriate information. But there's no comparisons, no indication that One of the main features is how overwhelming, the most popular it is. Okay, body paragraph 1. Why? Why put data revealed that? Among all other categories, the car remained at the top spot throughout the given period. No comma there. Missing an article. You've already said that. Its would be no apostrophe. Its figure rose. From you do this throughout. I'll say it just once now. Why is there no space between these two words? 31 should be miles. In fact, you could just put MI would be better. Why is there no comparison between this and everything else? Your paragraph makes no sense in terms of how it's organized. Although the taxi, maybe, and definitely not the long-distance buses, why the? We're not the preferred modes of travel. Who's preferring? Why is this preference? Who knows why they weren't ridden? Don't cast judgment with preferences. Although, but, respectively. Their figure surged. Figure rose, figure surged. No, not the figure. The figure didn't surge. The travel surged. And really, in comparison to what cars were being driven, it doesn't make much difference. It should be in. I messed it up in. By contrast, traveling distance by trains. Confusing. What is that? And other transport services. Traveling distance by trains and other transport services. Gained a moderate rise. You can't gain a moderate rise. And reached by the end of the period. Now, this is for everyone. This graph is from 1985 to 2000. So it gives you the opportunity to show some pretty fancy grammar. Specifically, the past perfect. Yeah, the past perfect. Something that happened before something else in the past. So, by the end of the period. This is the perfect opportunity to use past perfect. Because when did the services gain a rise? Forget this part, but when did they gain? Had gained a moderate rise by the end of the period. It happened before the end of the period. Past perfect. That's a big, well, I don't know how big it is, but it's another point for you in grammar. Summarize. You've reported everything. Select. Not bad. Report. Too many words. Make comparisons. None. On the other hand, don't use this in task 1. It's for arguments and discussions. Traveling distance, there's that weird thing again, by means of the bicycles. And by walk. Saw a modest drop. Here we are. Traveling distance. 225 words. One sentence, the longest sentence, had 101 words. I think we just read it. Too long. And too long of an essay, of a report. 229 words. I'm literally tisking at you. Okay. All right, here we go. This is another one. Even though the local buses, we do not use the before. We don't know what buses we're talking about. Just local buses. Also showed a decline in covering miles year and reached to. You don't use reached for things that are going down, usually. Almost have. Even though, but the. Don't use even though and but the in the same sentence. And even though buses showed a decline, one small thing. The total increased. We've got 10 categories here. In the 15 years of duration and touched the figure of. From what? And there's no comparison. You miss the entire point about how cars played such a huge role in that increase. I don't think you could write this in 20 minutes. It's confusing. Simplify your language by not reporting everything. Put categories together, like, being on foot, not by walk, but on foot and bicycling. Those you can put together. People did less traveling. Motorized transport increased, but manual powered transport, decreased. And there's a connection. So task 1 is not an exercise in showing how many different verbs you can use incorrectly to describe numerical change. It's about finding and summarizing the main information while making comparisons. Comparisons. Where are the comparisons? All right, that's pretty harsh, huh? Oh well. Sometimes you got to break a few eggs if you want to make an IELTS omelet.